wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ NV, Jess Hilarious, Charlamagne the guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We got a special guest in the building.
Yes, indeed.
Humble the Poet. He's back, ladies and gentlemen. New book, Unanxious, 50 Simple Truths to Help Overthinkers Feel Less Stress and More Calm. Morning.
Good morning.
How you feeling?
Feeling fantastic.
Good.
Easier said than done, but it can be done as somebody who deals with anxiety.
You know what? It gets harder and harder, but it gets more and more worth it.
Yes, I agree.
And we just got to change the conversation, and I'm realizing that. Like, step one, stop talking about anxiety like it's herpes.
Like it's herpes.
Yeah, I have anxiety. She has anxiety. Anxiety is a normal feeling. Anxiety is a signal. It's like hunger. You don't say, I'm hungry, what's wrong with me? You say, I feel hungry because it's been like 8 hours since I ate. It's the same thing. Mel Robbins said it. Instead of saying, I'm anxious, say, I feel anxious because.
Yeah.
I feel anxious because I got bills to pay. I feel anxious because somebody I like hasn't texted me back. I feel anxious because I drank too many coffees this morning. And it's like knowing the reason allows you to understand the first step instead of looking at ourselves like we're failing because we have this signal and this emotion. Because when we think we're failing, we have anxiety, what do? We try to distract, we try to medicate, we try to avoid.
That is water, by the way.
And then the other crazy part is I think once you recognize what's causing the anxiety, you get to determine whether or not you have any control over it. And once you realize you have no control over it, you're like,
Well, what I'm realizing in the last month, this book came out 2 months ago. I was supposed to be on the show a month ago, and everything worked out where things got pushed a month. And for this last month, I've been on a really intense journey to reboot my system. So complete sobriety, complete abstinence, complete celibacy. And then all of a sudden I realized your relationship with things on the outside will let you know how much control you have. So really what the issue is, our anxiety systems is an outdated security system. It was there to protect us in a world that we don't live in no more. So what happens, like think about your phone. Your phone comes with a bunch of apps on them that aren't useful. They're not useful no more. You may or may not use it. You can't get rid of the calculator app on your phone, whether you like it or not. All we can do with this, our operating system, is we can reboot and we can update. We can update our server. We can update our system. That requires getting it out of our system temporarily. If you eat hot sauce every single day, what happens? You need more and more and more just to taste it. You want to reboot your system, what do you got to do? You got to get hot sauce out of your life. And then maybe after a month you taste it again, that's going to taste different.
What got you to the point where you said you needed a reboot? What got you there with like, this is time?
My entire life, I've always just been focusing on freedom. I grew up in an activist space, but also like, I want to be financially free. I don't want to have a day job. I don't want all these things. And then when you start jumping out of these cages, you start realizing the biggest cage you've ever built is the one that you built for yourself. And what we do is we decorate it by, negotiating. We decorate it by using our intelligence, and we start saying, no, I'm not a slave to my habits. I'm not a slave to my impulses. Like, I just want to enjoy life. I just want to experience the depths of life. But we're just intellectualizing our addiction. So I realized I've hit that point in my life where I was like, oh, the biggest cages, the biggest fences that I'm stuck behind are the ones that I built. And I realized, like, okay, the basic story is something on the outside needs to happen for me to feel calm and safe on the inside. That's the relationship. All of this anxiety talk is that simple idea. Something on the outside needs to happen for me to feel safe on the inside. Whether that's taking a vape, whether that's drinking alcohol, whether that's having sex, whether that's eating in front of the TV, whether that's taking your phone to the toilet. Because for people who take their phone to the toilet, try not to take your phone to the toilet and you will have an anxiety attack. For people, a friend of mine always eats in front of TikTok, and I said, try it one time. Try it one time not to eat with your screen on. They ate half the meal. Because we realize we live in a world and a system that gets very powerful when we're on autopilot. And that autopilot is us outsourcing our stimulation, outsourcing our regulation. We're like, yo, I can only feel safe from things on the outside. I need that just to get to zero. But when you let it all go and you go through this process, and it sucks. You know what I mean? The withdrawal sucks. Then all of a sudden you realize, oh, I can create this dopamine on the inside. Dopamine from the outside hijacks you. Dopamine from the inside builds you.
What was the most,
what does an anxiety attack look like?
So anxiety, just from a scientific, so I want people to understand this conversation is not philosophical, it's not spiritual, it's not moral. This conversation is just psychological and biological. So I'm not here to judge anybody's choices. Anxiety is just adrenaline and cortisol. So what happens is the body doesn't know what's happening. The body just knows things are changing. So when the body gets charged, it thinks there's danger. That's what we call it fight or flight. But there's more levels. It's called the polyvagal system. You have freeze. So if something intense happens, we just freeze. Someone puts a gun to your face, you've never seen a gun before, you're just going to freeze. You don't get to choose that. Then there's fight or flight, which now has turned into fight or scroll. And then we also have safety. And then the new one that's being introduced right now is fawn, right? So freeze is play dead. Fight or flight is run away or fight. Fawn is I'm gonna make you love me. So this is a big one, especially for men, because men aren't walking into romantic situations thinking about their safety the way women do. But men have to think about safety, and they don't realize when they feel unsafe, which is nervous, they fawn, they get extra charming. And now we're performing, right? And we have to recognize that. So it took me 15 days of not doing all the big stuff to realize that there's a second layer to this, a third layer, a fourth layer. You have to keep going down. So yeah, cool, performing for beautiful women. But also, like, my nephew was just here on the weekend visiting. I started performing for him because I want to be the cool uncle. That's also fawning. That's also an anxiety. That's me trying to avoid anxious feelings.
Right.
Like, the moral of the story is feel your feelings, and it's going to suck. Put the phone away, eat the meal, feel the burn that's about to come. That burn is adrenaline and cortisol. That's what you need to protect your kids. That's what you need to get away from danger. But we're getting triggered in moments that aren't physically dangerous anymore.
Do you feel like we take the word anxiety and it's used too much?
Already,
Because
for sure.
It's a from what you're saying, it's a natural feeling, right? I'm about to go on stage. There's thousands of people out there. You get a little anxious, but it's not like a lot of us. I'm sure some people do, but we don't get that anxious where it's like, oh, I can't go on stage. It's like you get that little feeling, and then it's like, all right, I gotta go, and then you just go and do it. But I feel like a lot of times people use the word anxious and anxiety as such a negative tool. It's like a nasty, naughty word when you talk about it sometimes.
Absolutely. As I said, we treat it like it's herpes. Like, we treat it like it's a condition, and only some people have it, some people don't. We give it like my anxiety, like it's an individual problem. Anxiety is a society problem.
Well, some people do have anxiety disorders where they actually have to take medication.
Absolutely, people have anxiety disorders,
Yes.
but the situation with that is if you have an anxiety disorder, if you're bipolar, if you have any mental health issue, there are still things that we can all do to improve how we feel. I'm not saying we're going to cure it. I'm not even saying we can reboot and delete our old system, but we can make choices, simple choices. Get more sleep than you need, drink more water than you need, get more sunlight than you need, and stay away from assholes.
Which is why knowing the word anxiety is good. Like, I think knowing the language and knowing what it is you're going through is good, because now you can identify it and then you can find cures for it.
So the issue with that is, and it's kind of like the word woke, right?
Like woke, you said?
Like that came from Erykah Badu, right? Stay woke, and then Childish Gambino made it
They
even
wore
more
that
popular.
out. They wore it.
And it
People were
meant
still
something.
asleep.
It meant be aware. It meant be self-aware. It meant know what's going on. And now it's been weaponized and changed the other way. It's almost an insult now, right? Oh, the woke mob, the woke. Language changes. That's what happened with mental health. You know, we're all millennials. We remember back in the days when you talked about mental health, people thought that meant like insane asylums and
Crazy.
straitjackets. Then we got to like, okay, things have been normalized. You don't have to be embarrassed to say that you saw a therapist or something. Now it's gone too far the other way, where we treat mental health and we use that language completely incorrectly. We think we have to protect our mental health. Like it's some like crystal flower that like if somebody comes near us, we have to protect our peace, we have to protect our mental health. Mental health is just like physical health. So what I'm going to say is the word's been used up, it's been weaponized just like, well, let's use mental fitness. Because you don't say when it comes to your physical health, well, I'm not going to climb these stairs because gravity is going to make it harder. It's like, no, the only way that you can climb stairs is to keep climbing it. We have machines in the gym just for you to climb stairs when you don't even need to climb stairs. Why? To prepare you for the times that you have to. We out here deadlifting, lifting heavy weights. The heavier the weight, the more we know the workout mattered. So then when our friends asked us to move a couch, and again, if you're over 30, stop asking your friends to help you move a couch. But when you're ready to do it because you were voluntarily putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, we don't have that for our mental health. We don't have mental fitness training. We're not voluntarily putting ourselves in uncomfortable mental situations so we get stronger. Instead, we're like, I got to protect my peace. No, your peace protects you. You don't protect your mental health. Your mental health protects you, just like your physical health protects you. You want to be able to pick up your kids so you go to the gym. You don't say my kids are heavy, gravity keeps holding them down. I wish we lived on the moon, it would be lighter. No, you're like, I got to go to the gym so for longer and longer I can hold my kids. Up to the point where I'm going to the gym just so I can open a jar when I'm 80.
But it's
That's an interesting point. But there's other things that go into keeping your physical health right. Like, it's not just working out.
Yep.
It's diet.
Yep.
So you refrain from certain things.
Yes.
Therefore, you are protecting your physical. You're not going to eat so much processed foods. You're not going to eat so much sugar. You're
Absolutely.
not going to take in so many carbs.
So what are we doing for mental health?
The same thing. I think you should refrain from certain things. Like if you know certain things trigger you, you should refrain from that.
I completely disagree.
I'm not mad at protecting your peace. If there's something I know that I'm not gonna like and I don't have to be around it and it doesn't affect my daily life.
Yeah, like why would you? I'm
Why
asking.
would
I know.
I dive into it if I know I'm not gonna like it? I know it's gonna make me feel a certain way, and I don't need it in my life.
Absolutely. So for example, if it was an easy day at the gym, it wasn't a good day at the gym, right? It had to kind of suck.
That is true.
It had to be a struggle, right? Your triggers aren't what you're supposed to avoid. Your triggers are the roadmap. Your triggers are showing you where all the work is. But what we've done now is we've created mental health to the point where it's like, I'm just going to sidestep everything that makes me feel gross. That gross feeling, that adrenaline and cortisol, that's the body being like, I'm in danger when you're not. I'm coming doing this interview. It's a big deal. I get a little bit nervous. The mantra has to be, okay, this feels uncomfortable, but I'm not in danger. Mm-hmm. Our body thinks we're in danger, right? Instead, what needs to happen is our triggers are what's revealing to us where the work is. When we always talking about being healed, so think about it physically. If you were 8 years old and you fell off your bike and broke your arm, you didn't just experience physical trauma and keep it moving. You went to the hospital, you got your arm fixed up. But as children, we experienced mental trauma and kept it moving. Mm-hmm. As adults, we feel the same way. So it's like we have to address that, and that's the way it gets stronger. For example, simple example, I walk by somebody, let's say, I walk by somebody and they got a perfume on and all of a sudden I get triggered. And first things first, I just want to get away from them. I want to soothe. I want to look at my phone. I want to do something to feel better. Cool. Maybe the next day after I'm well rested, I'm well hydrated, I get some sleep, whatever. I'm like, yo, what was that? Let me reflect on that. Oh, snap. That was my ex's. That was her smell. That was her fragrance. That's why I got triggered by that. Then the next step is to go to the store, find that fragrance and voluntarily smell it. Put yourself back into that. Instead, we're like, well, that person's a narcissist. That person's toxic. I got to stay away from this. I got to stay away from all these things. What that's doing is that's at the expense of our resilience.
I think it's situational, right? Because I get what you're saying. I understand it and I understand what they're saying too. For instance, this is a real example. I work here, right? All right. Interviews give me anxiety. Like they used to give me, like I love meeting people and all that, but I never know what I want to ask. You get what I'm saying? So, but I can't just not do it. This is my job. Like I can't just not do it. So I have to face it head on. And both of them give me tips. They, mentor me with it as well. And I'm getting better at it. I'm not as good as I feel like I want to be or I should be, but I still get anxiety doing interviews, just being as transparent as I can be. But it doesn't bother me as much as it used to. But sometimes, depending on the person or whatever, I'm like, yo, I'd be like, no, yo, I ain't trying to do this. Loren, step in or whatever. You know what I mean? She's our other co-host. But how would you treat that? Or how would you give me advice?
You're illustrating the point. You're illustrating the point perfectly. Mm. In the beginning, because you're new to this, especially in comparison to folks that have been doing it for like over a decade, your body's like, this is new, this is uncomfortable, I don't want to do it. That's generally what the body's saying. The amygdala, the little tiny almond-sized part of our brain is just like, I don't know what this is, it's got to be danger, right? So that's what your body's saying to you. And the only way, and this is the reason that this has to go beyond this book. We can hear these ideas, but the only way the body can actually believe this is through practice. And the only reason you're getting less and less anxious feelings around the interviews is by doing more and more interviews.
Yeah.
Now, if you're just like, this don't feel good, I'm never going to do it. Let me go find a different job. Let me go, do something else so I don't want to feel this. Now you're robbing yourself of resilience.
Right.
Who you're going to be a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now by doing more and more interviews, you're getting your reps in. This is part of your mental fitness that you're doing. This exactly illustrates the point. And I'm not saying take on too much weight, just like when you go to the gym. Don't take on too much weight. Start light. Focus on your form. It's the same thing. Ease yourself in, get into it. But it gets to the point where you realize all of these things that we've been avoiding, we've been outsourcing our safety through our phones, through everything.
You know, because it's like if you follow, let's say, a site, right, a social media site,
Yeah.
and all the social media site does nothing but post negativity.
Yeah.
And if you say, you know what, I'm gonna leave that alone because it f's up my energy. At the
Yeah,
end
but
of the day.
unfollow it. I'm gonna block
I don't
it.
see a
Yeah.
problem with that. That
That's
protects
diet.
your energy.
That's diet. That's diet.
Mhm.
That's sugar. You're realizing I'm outsourcing my dopamine, and that's hijacking me.
But
right?
that's not a bad thing to protect
That's not
that
a
energy.
no. That's not a bad thing. And here's the thing, because I was thinking about that. Because I know there was a J. Cole interview where he did 2 years off social media, and then he came back and he was like, "Oh, it was like I never left."
Right.
Right. It's kind of like eating a salty potato chip. You're like, I ain't had one 2 years. All of a sudden, perfect example. I haven't been on social media for a month. Obviously, I went on the Breakfast Club yesterday to look stuff up, and then all of a sudden, I fell down the rabbit hole. I found, the Job Is Mine video. I saw. Then I wasn't even on the site anymore. Now I'm watching. 10 times people tried to check Charlamagne. I'm watching this stuff that's not even on the Breakfast Club.
Correct.
And I got lost in it. I got into autopilot. Right. So it's understanding that this stuff was still created by the smartest people in the world, who were paid by the richest people in the world for the explicit goal of hijacking us and keeping us in autopilot.
Absolutely.
Now, what I realized was like, well, if J. Cole can't do it, I can't do it. And I realized what J. Cole didn't do. J. Cole took one specific thing and addressed it. We got to do all the things, all the outside things. We have to abstain from all of them until we reboot our system. And so it's not like, oh, I'm going to stop eating this hot sauce, but I'm going to eat all this hot sauce. And my tongue will reset. No, we got to get rid of all the hot sauce. So it's got to be the phone, it's got to be the porn, it's got to be the vape, it's got to be the hookah, it's got to be the alcohol, it's got to be the foods, it's got to be the people, it's got to be all of it until the system reboots. This isn't monk life forever. This is doing a reset, max 90 days. And then you get to this point where you can go back. Like right where I'm at right now, one of my reps every day is go back on social media and just try to find the prettiest girl and look at her and pay attention to see what it does to my body. One of my boys, Chris, and the story about him in the book, but he had to go through. He had a lot of issues initially with substances, and he got sober. And this was happening during like the BlackBerry phase, before smartphones was a thing. So he never got on smartphones. And I remember in like 2018 showing him Instagram for the first time. And him seeing a girl on Instagram was like giving a baby a potato chip. Like his eyes lit up. He has never seen it before. And then you realize that. But if we go in with that awareness, it's like, all right, listen, I'm not going to avoid this stuff forever, but I'm going to first retrain and rewire my system. Now I can go in, and now I'm going in sovereign.
It's interesting what you're talking about. I remember having a conversation one time in therapy, and I was complaining about some stuff that was happening on social media. And my therapist was like, can't you just turn your phone off? And I was, in my mind, I was a little pissed off. I'm like, I'm paying you $150 an hour to hear this type of language, but she's right in a lot of ways. Like, I don't feel like I have to, subject myself to abuse or pain just to try to get over something when I could just walk away from it.
Right.
Yeah, because we're outsourcing our dopamine, and the most potent dopamine is chaos. Right? It's chaos. The social media is chaos. It's the reason the biggest video on the Breakfast Club platform right now is the Birdman. It's chaos. Right? It's not going to be a meaningful conversation. It's just we all look at car crashes. We all look at that stuff. It catches our attention.
So if we're in verbally abusive relationships with our smartphones, why would we stay there? Because I'm just going to use an extreme example. If you were in an actual physical abusive relationship, you wouldn't tell that person, just stay there and take the hits. Eventually you'll get over it.
I feel like that is the one positive thing about our phones. It'll help people understand why people stay in abusive relationships.
Hell no, really?
Talk to me.
Because we're in an abusive relationship with our phone and we can't let it go. And the reason why, it's a slot machine, right? It's not always good, but we have unanticipated rewards. It's bad, but when it's good, it feels so good. It's like, see trash, I see trash. Oh, a cute puppy. Oh, it was all worth it. That half an hour of doom scrolling was worth it, right? Same thing being in any abusive relationship. Addiction is wanting more of the thing that almost works. Craving is just a memory of comfort. And that's all we're chasing. All we're chasing is trying to get back down to zero. We're just heightened. Even after this conversation, some of us might instantly just pick up our phones because we don't want to hear the silence. Because this is where our system has been. Our nervous system has been dysregulated for so long. And it's not our faults. This world is a dumpster fire. This system was not designed for this world. We were designed to live in communities of like 200, 300 people max. We should know the faces of every single person in our lives, right?
So it sounds like you're saying we should disconnect.
Not just disconnect from your phone. Your phone is one of the bosses. We got to disconnect from everything. And if we do it from everything long enough, then we can go back. And we'll go back sovereign. This is the thing. And this is where you start to realize, like Kendrick Lamar energy. Because what I realize where I'm at right now is I'm past the substances. Now I've discovered the enemies. Now I'm looking for the spies. And my big spy right now is I chase being chosen by anybody who has power over my value. So in the beginning, it's like, all right, yeah, cool. I want validation from pretty girls. Oh, I want people who are in positions of power to make me feel like I matter. But then it became like, all right, my parents came to visit me here. And, they were clowning you on taking your kids to Wicked. I took my parents to see The Lion King. My parents have never seen a live play. And I'm sitting there, do you like it? Do you like it? Do you like it? They've never seen a play before. This whole experience is brand new for them. Well, what I clocked was I just want their validation. Then I want to go into my siblings' chat group and see if they said anything to my sisters so I can get more validation, right? Now I have to figure out, well, where are those leaks? The leaks aren't just I want people to validate me. It's also I fear being misunderstood. I want people to understand me. And then you realize, like, oh, snap, that's like the one thing a guy like Kendrick Lamar doesn't, the one thing we can say, he doesn't care about being understood. He never clarifies anything.
But what's wrong with you wanting that validation from your parents? Like, oh, yo, you really took us to, this is dope. We never seen this in our lives.
I'll tell you exactly. Yeah. I mean, their comments were way more hilarious, which was like, this play's been on for 25 years. How come the kids are so young, right? Like they've never seen a play. Right. And they probably thought that I paid movie ticket prices to sit up front. Like they had no concept of what was happening. It's the simple story. Something on the outside has to happen for me to feel good on the inside. And I know this because all of us do have relationships with things that we call vices that are not slavery. For me, it's pizza. I like pizza. I don't crave pizza. If me and you have plans to go eat pizza right now, and 5 minutes before the plan, we have to cancel, and you got to be, oh, let's get tacos instead. We couldn't get pizza. I would not be emotionally impacted. Right? That's how all of this should be. Like you forget your phone at home, it should feel like, all right, cool, no issues.
Oh, hell no.
Exactly.
No.
It's going to take work. I'm not, as I said, this is not a moral conversation, not philosophical. This is biology.
I got kids, though. I got kids. Yeah. And then, I'm not from here. I got a mom that I really, you know what I'm saying? I got businesses.
I understand.
And stuff, so
I understand.
That's more so the part, not even just social media or just, I don't know.
I understand. Listen,
I don't know. I don't know if that can apply to everything. I think what you're saying can apply to some things because
that's why I feel like it's
like say you're an alcohol abuser or a drug abuser, right? You go to rehab. They tell you to stay away from those things, stay away from those environments. Don't walk into a bar because it may tempt you. I think if you're a recovering alcoholic, you don't go sit in a bar and just hope. I don't want to drink anymore.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And I'm not advocating for that. As I said, I'm talking about the day-to-day, everyday people and us exploring. Because the issue with us is we're living in autopilot. We don't even know what our addictions are. And there are certain things. So, for example, when this is all said and done, there are certain things that are never coming back. And I did this journaling through AI and everything to figure out. So I can go back to weed. That's something that I can have sovereignty over. I can never go back to porn. Porn rewires the brain. I can never go back. I can never go back to multitasking. Okay, so I can never eat in front of a screen ever again. That's the non-negotiable. I can have a shot of tequila. I can have sex again, right? But I can't. I could do some hookah. I could eat certain foods. But there's certain things that are never coming back. And that's the interesting part about it. As I said, it's not all right. If you have a long-standing relationship with alcohol, go back to the bar. No, not at all. However, as I said, I have a friend who's 10 years sober. He can. He figured it out. He figured out a situation that works for him. But as I said, the first goal is the awareness. Like when I'm doing this, I'm not being like, oh, today I went completely sober. I won. No, today I had a leak. Some pretty girl talked to me on the street, told me my puppy was cute. I got performative. That's data. It's not pass or fail. It's pass or collect data. And this is where being nice to yourself is essential. We have to be vigilant, but we have to be nice to ourselves. We can't beat ourselves up over this. But the goal here is sovereignty. And sovereignty is different from freedom because freedom is I can do whatever I want. Sovereignty is I can control who I am, right? Because you can be free, you can be financially free and buy 7 iPhones and get pissed off when you see something on the internet. You're not sovereign. Sovereign is to be unimpacted by that. It's just going to take work. It's just like your physical fitness. You want to have the ability to pick up heavy things. Day one at the gym is going to suck. And then the morning after is going to suck even more. You take 2 weeks off, and you go back again. And what are we doing? We're voluntarily tearing these muscles and letting them heal back. I'm voluntarily tearing up my mental health by doing this stuff. In the next month, I have to do a 72-hour fast just to figure out what is left. What else am I hiding in here? Because as I said, the big stuff is easy to discover. It's the little things, the little validation, the little performance, figuring out what all of this is. And I think this is really important. Again, and this isn't what you need to do on day one. On day one, it's just recognize anxiety isn't herpes. Anxiety isn't a condition. This book isn't going to solve anxiety. This book is going to solve your despair around anxiety. People feel helpless around anxiety. This book is actually 52 chapters, 52 different options when you're having anxious feelings. The big idea is feel the feelings. When it sucks, can you sit in a room by yourself quietly? They did that shock test, letting people sit in a room quietly, and when they want, either they could just sit in the room or shock themselves and leave. And most people pick to shock themselves. And this, if you want to deal with anxiety, create a life that allows you to sit in a room and do absolutely nothing. And remember that we're human beings, we're not human doings. And right now, we're constantly medicating, avoiding, and distracting ourselves by doing stuff.
So this isn't for people who actually have anxiety disorders. It's people who just deal with everyday anxiousness.
Well, what I'm going to say is, because, as I said, the pendulum in the mental health conversation has gone so far, so many of us are self-diagnosing. That's step number one.
I agree with that.
Step number two is, if you have even a diagnosed anxiety disorder, let's just say your body produces extra cortisol and adrenaline, there are still choices and decisions that you can make that will improve how you feel in a day-to-day life.
I agree.
And that's the important part. It's like we're not standing in one spot. We're either strengthening our sovereignty or strengthening our slavery every single day with the choices that we make, irrespective of what our mental health diagnosis is. And the other thing too with mental health conversations and cultures, we use those words as the end of the story.
I agree with that. And see, as a person who's been clinically diagnosed with anxiety disorder, one of my things that help me with that is staying away from the fuck shit. But I agree with what you're saying, because we talk about it, but then we don't do the healing work.
Yeah.
We don't talk about the actual healing of it.
Yeah. Like if you've been diagnosed with a broken arm and then you out there walking and lifting heavy things, that's going to make, nobody's arguing that your arm isn't broken, but the choices that you make moving forward are either going to speed up the healing. You can't speed up the healing, sorry. It's either going to slow down the healing or destroy the healing.
That's right.
Right? We can't really speed up healing. Healing just takes time. You got to respect the time for it. It's the same thing with these mental health diagnoses that we have.
And we don't talk about the healing part of it enough.
We don't.
I think that there's a lot of conversation about, what it is people are dealing with, but not how to actually get through it.
Absolutely. So you got to think about anxiety like an iceberg. You can only see the tip, and there's like 90% underneath. We have no idea what's happening because we haven't done the work to just revisit it. And that work can easily just be journaling and being like, why did this thing make me feel that way? Versus that stuff makes me feel gross. I don't want it. Because even going to social media, why is social media triggering me? Well, it's letting me know, other people are doing things. I'm seeing other people's highlight reels. I'm comparing it to my behind the scenes, and that's making me feel less valuable. That's making me feel less seen. That's making me feel all these things. It's just the awareness. The goal here is self-awareness and being able to sit and do absolutely nothing if we want to improve how we feel.
Well, it's just always negative. Social media used to be fun all the time. I used to love to be on it. It's just always negative now. And people talk about like, oh, the algorithm. Nah, it's literally people. Now that people feel like they have a voice and everybody can be heard and everybody, they attack it even when it's not warranted. You know what I mean? So it's just, I don't even think it's like us, what we're seeing, how we're programming. I think you see it and you put it in our face, pause. You see it and when they put it in our face a certain amount of times, like a number of times, we can actually make that decision to be like, yo, I'm not subscribing to this.
But let's look at it this way. If you give a kid a full bag of candy every single day, and we say, well, they should just be able to make the decision not to eat all that candy, right? When they're really young. How long has social media existed? We are children when it comes to social media. This is the candy. Yeah. This is like the ultimate candy. This is the new epidemic. We're in a dopamine epidemic. They flooded the streets with dopamine. We are not designed to know as many people as we know. We're not designed to know about all the news happening everywhere all the time, right? And then this is a system that encourages negativity. It rewards negativity. If you
It's fueled by the 7 deadly sins.
it's fueled by those. And think about it. If you post a picture tomorrow and everyone's just like, oh, you look great, you look great, you look great. And then I just comment, well, you don't look all that today. That comment will pop up straight to the top. It's going to get the most replies.
And that'll be the one that make me mad because like, how you don't see what everybody else seeing?
That's the one. Yeah, but you probably will notice that comment more than the other. The other ones will blend in. We have a negative bias. That's just in us. Why do we have a negative bias? Because we used to live in the wild. We had to assume the worst. You're walking through the forest and you hear a sound, you have to assume it's something that's going to kill you. Because if you're wrong, cool. If you're right, you're in danger. We have to assume the worst. Smart people, really smart people who were paid by very rich people understand this, and they've used it to hijack our attention. Our attention and our focus is the most important thing that we have.
And this is my last question about what you said. Going back, you said porn, you can't ever go back to it, right?
Yeah.
But do you still ever desire or crave it?
Yes,
You know?
everything.
Okay, so you do.
As I said, craving is a memory of comfort,
Right.
right? So that's not going to go, as I said, this is not a moral conversation. This is
Yeah.
not porn is right, porn is wrong. This is just, it's a product. It's like sugar. I'm not here to judge sugar, but we know what sugar does, right? Porn is like sugar for your brain. It rewires your brain. Like there's science behind this. I'm not making this stuff up. I was on the Pornhub podcast. You know,
You got a podcast?
Yeah, they have a podcast. I was on there and I had a great conversation with them.
Nice.
That's not it's the product, right? It's an addictive product, just like coffee, just like alcohol. These are physically addictive things. The goal is
Hey, your mouth started watering thinking about it.
no, but let's do it. As I said, I'm not here on some like holier than thou stuff. Like I'm just saying. I'm not. You start reminiscing, right? But at the same time, it's like, listen. At the end of the day, the goal here is we're not going to be able to totally overhaul our system.
Yeah.
We've had this software for 50, 60, 70 generations as humans, right? This world we live in, 2-3 generations. We're not used to living in cities with millions of people. So this is a situation. So when it comes to stuff like porn, it's like the goal is, as I said, it's the same thing with pizza. It's like, yeah, I like pizza. It's cool. When I walk by a pizza spot right now, I don't completely Jones for the pizza. But if someone invites me out, I can enjoy it and I can understand its value. But I don't have to look to it to just get me back to calm. This whole idea, you know, what we're chasing even with the porn is the post-nut clarity. That's what we're chasing. We're chasing post. And what is that? We have just dysregulated our system so much that we finally, through that release, get a little bit of clarity.
But what if you look at porn as something that leads to the nut? And then once you get to the nut, you have the clarity.
Well, that's you have the clarity. Or you spend enough time away from all of this stuff, you can live in the clarity. You can live in that clarity.
Live in the nut? Like you saying, like not live.
No,
in the nut,
because we
like
don't call it nut
live-
clarity. We call it post-nut clarity.
So after you
The clarity, you can live in that. That could be your default. Because think about it, especially for guys, that post-nut clarity is the moment you're like, I have just been operating on autopilot. I just spent a bunch of money. I did this, I did that. I said all the things I didn't mean. What is it? Or after the post-nut, I like this. I want to be around this person. I found wifey.
This is so interesting. So what if you take the nut and then rub it on your nipples?
You know what? Let's be, no, we could talk about that. That's an example of somebody who is continually outsourcing dopamine to the point where they have unlimited resources, they have unlimited power, so it just got wilder and wilder and wilder and wilder.
But I also feel like if he would have been into porn and Pornhub like that and got his nut off watching that, he wouldn't have to do it in person, and there's nobody to tell on him.
So Chris Rock said it in Tambourine, and I remember this, and he's like, porn is an issue because your porn searches evolve. But you was it's just like Fat Joe said, today's price ain't yesterday's price. What you was looking up 5 years ago ain't what you're looking up now. Because it's not enough.
Now.
More choices, but also you need it to elevate. You need more hot sauce. It's not one drop anymore.
I get it. I understand what you're saying.
We're outsourcing. That's all it is. And every time we outsource, right, we're getting sedated. Right? So going back to the activism, going back to the freedom, we got to realize we don't live in this dystopian 1984 world with authoritarian governments. We live in the brave new world where they're controlling us through comfort. That's the tool. If you want to get
Don't speak
rich,
too fast about the authoritarian government either. We're on track.
we're on track, but we got to realize if we don't have internal sovereignty, it doesn't matter.
But like you said, everything is through comfort. Like even like things like this may sound crazy, but like Instacart, we ain't gotta go outside to the grocery store no more. Like,
Part of my
even-
work is I have to pick up all my food. I can't do delivery no more.
Yeah.
I have to at least earn the meal on some level. I think Naval Ravikant said it. Any vice plus convenience equals a weapon. If you got to climb the top of a mountain to get drunk, you got to earn it. Fine. But we're not doing it. It's been weaponized against us, becoming more and more convenient, right? Especially with this VC model, where it's like they make it convenient and cheap because someone else gave them the money to do it. They get us hooked, and then we start paying these crazy prices. These new prices keep coming in, and that's nothing new. Back in the days when cell phones first came out, they used to give us 2-3 months unlimited, get us used to texting, get us used to everything. So then when texting was free after 6 p.m., we were still texting before 6 p.m. because they created our behaviors. They put a leash on us. They molded our behaviors. This is that lack of sovereignty that I'm talking about. This is why this conversation is so important to me. I'm not here to sell a book. I'm here to at least ring a bell in some people's ears that can't get unrung. People who care about being sovereign and realize that, hey, I'm either feeding my slavery or I'm feeding my sovereignty.
I love the sovereignty angle. I think that makes a lot of sense, because I think that a lot of people don't have. They don't have. I don't even think people know what that is.
Absolutely. It's not freedom. It's inner control. It's inner command. It's the ability to own your decisions. Right now, we're reacting. That's what a lot of anxious feelings do. Someone cuts us off, we smash on the horn. Someone, that whole Dave Chappelle skit when Keeping It Real goes wrong. That's people reacting, going into autopilot. A lot of that autopilot came from how you grew up when you were a kid, right? You created software, you created mechanisms, you created your own algorithm, and we never updated it. So maybe you grew up in a neighborhood where you had a hairpin trigger. You had to, the second someone stepped on your toes, you had to defend yourself. And then you grow up and you're in a situation where those dangers, physical dangers aren't there, but the body still gets triggered the same way. And maybe now it's disrespect or what have you. All I'm saying is, and that's the amygdala. You got to realize we have a prefrontal cortex, which is your logical brain. You have the amygdala, which is your survival brain. The amygdala is 11 times faster, which means we will always react. I'm not advocating and promoting I'm Zen. I meditate on top of a mountain. I don't get mad. No, I just clock it quicker.
Well, were you sovereign when you were naked and anxious in Germany?
No.
Okay.
That's a perfect example. My homeboy lives in Germany. He's my oldest friend. I've known him since we were 4 years old. And I hurt this is right after 2019. It's right after doing the Breakfast Club for the first time. And I'm doing a tour in England. And I took my parents' cheap luggage. They pay $60 for like 11 pieces. I didn't know back then. So I just grabbed this cheap luggage, go. And one of the wheels breaks. So now I'm going to the London Tube with a broken wheel. And I injure my shoulder. After the tour, I visit my friend in Berlin. And I haven't seen him in a while. He grew up in Canada with me. And he's like, yo, I'm going to take you to the spa. And I'm like, candles, massage, that sounds perfect. We're on the bus, because he don't drive, and we're headed to the spa. And then I'm like, what's going to be really good for this spa? I'm going to take an edible. So I eat an edible. I'm like, it's going to feel perfect. And then he goes, man, I'm so proud of you. You're so open-minded. None of the other guys in our crew would ever do this. And I was like, what are you talking about? Do what? He's like, the naked part. And I was like, yeah, you're naked in a massage, but they put a blanket over you or something. He's like, no, when we're in the steam room together. I'm like, that's not a spa, that's a sauna. And he's like, oh man, I mixed up the words. So at this point, we're going to an all new sauna in Germany, and I already popped the edible. And
you didn't know. You didn't even expect this.
No, I was expecting a massage. I thought I hurt my shoulder. Yeah. So then it was, obviously the anxiety jumps up. I'm going to be naked in Europe. It's probably normal for them. It's not normal for me. I'm going to be naked in front of my friend. I ain't never done this before. And then you start to realize so now you're in reaction mode, and now you're scared, and plus the edible's hitting, which make it even worse. First thing that I did was I expressed it. I just used words. I'm like, look, man, I didn't realize what this was, and you could have put me in a cage by complimenting me and saying I'm open-minded, and now I want to live up to that, but I'm scared. And he's like, you're scared? I'm scared too. And then we realized we're not even scared about being naked. We're scared about being judged, right? And then when we get there, you realize, oh, I thought it's going to be like everyone's normal. Everybody thinks this is normal. I'm the only person feeling awkward. I could tell everybody, like there's a lot of this. Everybody was feeling awkward. And that collective vulnerability made it a little bit easier. But just like your interviews, the longer I stayed, the more comfortable I got. Listen, I'm ready for a Charlamagne comment. I'm ready.
sorry.
I'm ready.
There
I'm
is
ready.
not
No,
much
I'm
time
ready.
left for
No,
this.
no.
I'm ready. I'm
it
ready.
just sounds like he was trying to take the friendship to another level.
Flirting.
No.
It did
I
though.
ain't say flirting.
No, it
I
did
just said
though.
to another
But
level.
it did. I've known him since we were 4, and it did. Being naked with your friend will do that. Being vulnerable. That's what vulnerable. We measure friendships in terms of length. You got to measure relationships in terms of
God
vulnerability.
damn. Jesus Christ, humble. You what the fuck? So y'all had to sit naked in the sauna to be like, that's my friend. That's my friend right there.
That's not
See-
really my
See how long it is? He's not really
He's
my
a half
friend.
a friend.
Lord.
I was ready for it.
See how this is not.
It's okay. I was ready for it. And look, you're not wrong. At the end of the day, you're not wrong. At the end of the day, it's still about being vulnerable. Relationships only grow through being vulnerable, and being vulnerable is being naked. Either you're being naked with your body or you're being naked with your feelings.
The honest question. All questions are honest, but when you were in the sauna
Oh boy.
and you looked around and you realized, like, oh, I'm bigger than a lot of guys in here. Did that make you feel more comfortable?
But how do you know he was bigger? He could have been smaller.
Because he can see, he got eyes. Well, he could have been smaller too, but
Well, he could, because obviously he just said he wasn't scared about being naked. He was scared about being judged. So we know he got
the only
No, listen.
Could have been.
No, your boy's shoe size 11.5. I'm okay.
Okay.
We're fine.
What were you? Did
We're
you
fine.
get hard?
We're fine. Look, like that. You know what it is with insecurities is like, like for example, if somebody's has a certain height, they don't think about their height. People who lack something have an insecurity. Not judge. And again, I can't judge somebody for the genetic lottery they won. So like that's not much of an issue. But I think for me, it was more along the lines of like, I didn't want to get caught staring by somebody, you know, if you see a woman or whatever. And then
so it's men and women in the sauna.
No,
So-
it's just men.
no,
Oh.
men, women, and then once I got comfortable, then they just threw in the next mix, kids.
Oh hell
Oh,
no.
no.
What?
There were full nuclear families there. I didn't know any of this.
So this is this cultural? Like this is like
I don't know how they do it in
Yeah,
Germany.
that's
At the end of the day, I thought I was getting a massage. Instead, it was just a bunch of sauna rooms and cold plunges. And I don't know why people couldn't wear clothes. And in the beginning, I was just like, all right, I'm in a different country. This is their stuff.
Yeah.
But as I said, I did not feel like most of the people in that room were comfortable either. It
Yeah.
didn't feel normalized, right? So it wasn't like if somebody lived in a culture where, like, you know, men walk around topless and then all of a sudden they come to the beach and they feel weird. No, I felt like everybody felt kind of awkward.
Yeah.
But yeah, once I got comfortable with all the adult stuff, then I remember going outside where there's like a pool area and then seeing kids running around. I was like, oh no, this is a whole different level. I'm not even trying to get used to this. And it was, but as he said, like, it's incrementally making yourself uncomfortable and to seeing, and then being like, all right, the longer I'm in it, the more my body realizes. And this has been my mantra for this whole last 30 days, which is this sucks, but I'm not in danger.
Yeah.
If you don't take your phone to the toilet after this conversation and you start to feel the adrenaline and cortisol rise, just say that. This sucks, but I'm not in danger. Because we get antsy. We grab our phones. We do all this stuff because our bodies don't know. Our bodies think we're in danger. And again, this is a prehistoric software, prehistoric security system that's not designed for the world that we're in. And that's why we can't rely on it. Because our body's also going to be like, well, if it's familiar, it's safe. That's why it keeps bringing in certain people that we shouldn't be seeing anymore because they're familiar.
Yeah, you know, one thing that's worked for me, and Sarah Jakes Roberts said this a while ago. I think she actually said it here on the Breakfast Club. She said, you know, anxiety can be a good thing because whenever you're doing something new, you're going to feel a certain level of anxiety. But to your point you made earlier, you have to tell yourself, oh, I've never done this before. This is a new space. This is a new place. These are new people, you know. So, of course, you're going to feel some level of anxiousness.
Exactly. Anxiety is not, it's not herpes. It's not the enemy. It's a signal. It's just as important as hunger. If we didn't have hunger, we would starve to death. We need to know when it's time to put some calories into us. Anxiety, when it's correct, and this is where we got to start doing some of the rebooting, it'll let you know, okay, well, think about it. To be courageous means you have to feel fear. If you're not feeling fear while you're doing it, you're not being brave, right? To be resilience means doing it despite the anxiety. Resilience is going to feel like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this, right? It's that nervousness, right? That's the only way you know you're hitting the edge. And that's how you know what your growth is, because our growth is only outside of our comfort zone. Our comfort zones are prisons. The way we look at it right now is that we go to our comfort zone to stay safe from all the scary things outside. At best, our comfort zones should just be a recharge station. It's not where we should be living. It should be where we go to recharge. If we got too many injuries from an experience, like, all right, let me go back to my comfort zone. Let me recharge. Let me get right back out there. And we know, especially all y'all are parents, that's what you do with your kids. Come back. Let me make you feel safe. I'll push you right back out. You know, do it. And then when you get overwhelmed again, come back. And now we'll go even further. Now we go even further. It's the same thing with life. It's the exact same thing. That's how we build our resilience. That's our mental fitness. And our mental fitness improves our mental health, and our mental health protects us. We don't need to protect our mental health.
Well, Unanxious is out
Humble
right
the Poet.
now. Humble the Poet. Make sure you pick it up. 50 Simple Truths to help overthinkers feel less stress and more calm. And thank you for joining us, brother.
Hell
We
yeah.
appreciate you.
And thank you so much for having me, as always. Thank
Tell
you
them how
so
to
much
follow
for
you,
having me.
Humble.
Someone's posting for me on social media right now, so it's at Humble the Poet. But for real, please to start your journey. For me, this is really important because, as I said, like, what I realize is I've been improving in this space is that it doesn't matter if I'm just doing it. We need, if everybody improved their relationship with their emotions, this world would get so much better.
Yeah.
This world will get safer. This world will get less divided. And then you realize all of this is what people are exploiting to control us. This is really what people are exploiting to control us. Can I just tell a real quick story? Because I think this is really important.
Please.
So what inspired this was, for 2 years, I was receiving random text messages and emails, death threats. And in these death threats, I was getting, like, they were naming my exes. They were putting up my address. They were saying they're going to kill my dog. They were naming other friends of mine, super racist, super all of this stuff. And in the beginning, freeze. I avoided it. I just didn't look at it. And I was just like, all right, cool. You know, I'm going to figure out who this is and punch him in the face or whatever. And then it kept escalating. And I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to give these screenshots to the police. And within a month, they found out who did it. And then you realize, like, not addressing it made it worse than actually addressing it. And I think that's the important part. And then the part with that is when an announcement was made on the news about it, they didn't use my name. They didn't use that person's name. They just said, you know, hate crime against somebody in the South Asian community. All the comments, because I'm Canadian, right? So this is Canadian news. All the comments were like, what's wrong with hating on these Indians? They're taking over our country. What's wrong with that? It's Canada first. And you're like, this is where we're at, where everybody looks at this, and you know, because they're telling their story when they see that. And then for me, it was less about the experience that happened to me and more about seeing how the world reacts to this.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, okay, so I gotta be on this mission to help people improve how they feel. Because that's the only way this world's gonna get better. Because this world is not designed for the way that we're built. So we gotta redesign ourselves to deal with this world.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Humble the Poet.
Yes, sir.
We appreciate you for joining us, brother.
Appreciate y'all for having me.
Charlamagne, me and you. Spa.
Naked. Germany.
No.
They ain't gotta go to Germany
I'm
to
not
do
John
it.
Get
Travolta.
that.
Me and you.
Yeah.
No.
No.
You don't be vulnerable with me.
That's it. That'll solidify.
No.
It's Humble the Poet. It's the Breakfast Club. Good morning.
Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.